There you go. For today's assignment and for future assignments. So it's probably going to be an hour tops. All right, so let's turn the cameras on and let's get started. So I want to share my screen, share sound. And to see my meeting. There we go. Okay. Um, I don't know if this is working. Let me see. I want screen two. I want sound. I want to share. Okay, that should be working. Let's get started. Okay, so today we're going to be covering two important concepts that are basically the foundation of how meaning is constructed, which is rather important for a social studies class. As we all know, culture is meaning, social groups have their meanings, traditions, myths, legends, they're all symbols, which are basically ways in which meaning is constructed and decoded. So the two concepts that we're going to cover today are multimodality and literacy. So we're going to start with literacy. Literacy translated to Spanish would be alfabetización, but the translation falls very short because alfabetización means being able to read, basically, and being able to know the alphabet. The current theory on literacy that is basically the standard right now goes beyond written text. And there's several different ways, and literacy is not really a skill. It's more of an action in today's understanding. So let's see. Can I get a volunteer? You're only going to read. You're not gonna do anything else. All right, Pedro, go ahead. Can you read the Barton and Hamilton definition?
Sure. Literacy is primarily something people do. It is an activity located in the space between thought and text. Literacy does not just reside in people's head as a set of skills to be learned, and it does not reside on paper, captured as text to be analyzed. Like all human activity, literacy is essentially social, and it is located in the interaction between people.
All right, thank you very much. Um, so basically from this first definition, this is from 1999. We still didn't have that much virtual reality or I don't know, Grok or AI, but um, from a while ago, it was understood that reading and writing is a form of communication between people. So if that reading and writing is a form of communication between people and there is meaning making and meaning understanding involved, then also any other human activity involves literacy, because when you're talking to another person, you're also making meaning and understanding meaning. So even if it's not a conversation, any human activity is essentially social. Any type of interaction between people For example, going back to writing, the interaction between writer and reader is an interaction between two people where meaning was made and then meaning was uh, extracted. Of course, with all the caveats that the original intended meaning may or may not exist, but what actually exists is the meaning that is decoded by the reader. All right, so let's go to the second definition. Very, very short. Can I get another volunteer? I don't know who raised their hand first, so I'm gonna think Oscar, and then we're gonna go with both people connected through Miss Gomez. All right, Oscar, go ahead.
Okay. A social practice that involves reading, writing, and multimodal meaning making through the use of a range of digital technologies. March 2016.
Yes. So the one of the latest definitions involves the digital aspect of meaning making. And it's not just literacy, it's 21st century literacies, which involve all of the different ways in which we now make meaning. For example, social networks or video games or digital environments in which we create or in which we exist. Um, someone from our Gomez Cáceres channel, please.
Literacy practice, yes, literacy practice are evolving, sorry. We are in a
Mm-hmm.
changing landscape of communication where the kinds of texts we commonly encounter and are required to produce are no longer mainly language-based, but are made up of combinations of modes, including visual, audio, gestural, spatial, and linguistic.
All right, perfect. So, in this last definition, we also introduce one of the other important aspects that we're going to cover today. Language, or the using language as a mode of creating communication or as having communication is not the only mode in which communication can happen. There are also other ways in which communication can happen. So, for example, you can understand how a person is feeling usually without that person having to tell you the exact definition of how of everything that is happening to them. So it's not only language based uh, communication and therefore literacy. So there are many modes of communication. We have visual meaning making, audio meaning making, gestures. Space is also a way to understand meaning. For example, two people that are close together or two people that are separate from each other, and we see that space between them. Those two realities have different meaning. And of course, linguistic. Language is included within the linguistic category. So let's go into the main part of our today's presentation, which is multimodality, which is basically, since we have many different modes of meaning making and many different modes in which communication happens, these modes also interact with each other. So they can add to each other, they can detract from each other, they can combine and have different meanings with each other. And this is applied to basically every aspect of human activity. So, second person from the Gomez Cáceres channel, please.
Okay. Reading multimodality. Meaning is made in multiple modes, which are used in various combinations. Example, no, e.g. Example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Image, writing, music, layout.
Yep. All right. So, when we have multiple modes, we not necessarily need to have um, text-based language within those modes in order for meaning to be carried out. as we can see in the example, some of you may have seen this or not, but if I tell you how much does it hurt, and you see this image and these numbers, then you will probably understand what I expect from you. You understand the meaning of these images. And there is no language that was actually used to express the meaning that I'm carrying out. So each different mode, language, audio, image, space, they all have distinct possibilities and distinct limitations. All different texts, and bear in mind that when I say text, I can mean physical text, audio text, image text. All of those are texts. So if I show you a picture and I call it a text, it's not because I'm going crazy. It's because there is a meaning to be there is meaning to be understood in that image. There is a lot of reading that you can do from audio, from images, from linguistic material, anything. So texts are designed using what is available. Societies use whatever is available to create, reinforce, and disseminate culture. It can be audio, it can be text, it can be gestures, and all of those are basically the essential items, like the atoms of what social studies needs to study or needs to understand. So since we have distinct possibilities and distinct limitations, there are, when constructing meaning, when writing, whether with text, audio, image, or whatever, when writing, we make choices. And those choices are purposeful. They have a purpose and they are relevant. They show the interest and the intentions of the sign maker, of the person who is writing, the person who is speaking, the person who is dancing, or whatever. There is a reason why they are doing it in a specific way and not in another way. So, as I was saying before, language is not the only mode of communication, and also, it is not necessarily the more important mode of communication. And you cannot study only language for understanding meaning. That doesn't mean you cannot study like linguistics. Linguistics is the study of language, like the separation of language from the context and like the study of it, which is very useful for understanding language itself. But if we're trying to understand, for example, a culture or a society or a specific item, like a movie or a song or like a classroom, for example, the language being used is not necessarily the most important, and it has to be studied with all of the other modes together because, as we said before, they combine with each other and they all have distinct possibilities and limitations. So let's look at an example. I'm pretty sure all of you are rather familiar with Instagram. So the majority of what we see here in one Instagram post is not text. So the majority of the meaning is not included in text. We all know, for example, what the heart means. What the heart means when it's red or when it's empty. We all know what the little speech bubble means. We all know what the little dots under the image means. It means there are more images. So we understand that meaning, and someone didn't necessarily teach us those specific things. For some, yes, because it's like more difficult. I was too old when I started using Instagram, and I was like, where do I find my profile picture? Show me my profile picture. And then someone had to show me how to read because I couldn't read. I didn't understand. I didn't decode. I wasn't able to decode the meaning of what the Instagram was trying to convey. So there are many different modes, like we said before. So in the visual mode, we have several different elements. We have the color, we have the layout, we have the size, and we have the perspective. So for example, in the picture, there is very little color. There is a specific layout for the speakers. There's a difference in size. So for example, it's not a first uh, like uh, like primer plano is in Spanish. I don't remember the name in English, but it's not a primer plano of the people. It's from far away. And they're give me 1 second. I have to. There we go. And this is for both the picture and for the conference. So if the conference wanted to give more space for different things, then they would have. So the way things are organized also have meaning. So for example, if one person had a different chair from other people, it would have a meaning in that case, and it would be purposeful. It would be something that someone decided to do on purpose for a reason. There's linguistic, of course, modes. There's the word choices. There's the tone. There's the delivery. Um, there's the audio, if there is audio. Usually we have music or sound effects or noise or silence. Silence is also part of audio, and the volume. So all of these things also carry meaning. All of these things can also be understood, can also be read, can also be decoded. There is the spatial mode, which is basically how things are organized within a space. This is usually more prominent and more distinguishable, for example, in a museum exhibit. Are all things cluttered together, or are all things very separate from each other? Those have different meanings. If there is a group of artifacts clustered together, it's probably because they have some sort of meaning together. If it's one single artifact very separate from one another, then that means something else. But the choice of using the space in different ways has a meaning. And there's, of course, gestures. There's facial expression, there's hand gestures, there's body language, and you may or may not have heard that human communication, or the meaning that is transmitted in human communication, is transmitted 80% or something around there through things that are not language. So your tone, your expressions, your gestures, your body language, your posture, those carry more meaning than just the language. So for example, there is a meme. I don't know, maybe it's a rather old meme, but you probably seen this. If I show you only the text, then it doesn't have this meaning. This one also includes the text, but it also has image, and it has a different meaning. Does that make sense? For the people who are smiling or laughing, I think that it makes sense for them. So this means something. This is just the text, and this means something else. It is usually associated with a specific situation, so it has a different meaning. So within multimodality, there are some terms that we use frequently, and that you may or may not use for the assignment that I'm going to be introducing later. So first thing is mode. We already discussed what mode is. There are many modes of meaning making. There are many different ways in which meaning is transmitted, and these modes interact with each other, and that's why the theory is called multimodality. In multimodal texts, it refers to the specific method of communication being employed, usually in parallel or in conjunction with other modes. So it's usually more than one mode of communication. Now, for the second one, if we want to make something more prominent, we don't usually use the word prominent because prominent is usually for more visual things or for more spatial things. If we want to use one term for all modes to refer to something that is more significant or more pronounced, we normally use the term salience. So we say, for example, the lightning is this scene, in this scene carries particular salience because there was a deliberate choice to ta 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 or something like that. So when something is more pronounced or more significant, like a specific element of a text, elements being meaning these elements here, when one of those is more pronounced, we refer to that as salience. We mentioned also earlier that there are distinct possibilities and distinct limitations, and basically, in order to not say distinct possibilities and limitations every time you are mentioning them, you can say affordances. Each mode has different affordances. So features that are particular to a chosen medium that a creator can use, and the potential ways media can be manipulated. So the visual mode has different affordances because you can play around with the light, you can play around with the colors, you can play around with those things. And the text has also different affordances because you can use different words, you can use different fonts, for example, things like that. So different affordances for different modes. And when we refer to differences, and we refer to differences between elements, and those differences are very noticeable, we use the term contrast. Contrast is normally used in photography or in cinematography or in images, photography. But it's basically the same principle when we are presenting two elements that are very different from each other on purpose. And we want to basically explain the relationship between those two elements. So, for example, in a scene, if we're talking about a series or a movie, and the lighting is very, very low, so it's very, very dark, but the people are look very happy, for example, that's usually a contrast. So there's a deliberate choice in using those two elements together. So these are the four more useful terms when we're discussing multimodality and when we're basically talking about the different modes that multimodality encompasses. So here we have two scenes from two different series. You may have seen the series or not, doesn't really matter. We're just going to use visual and spatial mode here because we don't have sound, we don't have text. Well, we do have text, a little bit of text because we have the name of the series. So both of them, we have families. In both of them, they are in a house. In both of them, there are many different things that are similar. However, what are the differences and the modes that are being used? Can anybody give it a try? Because the question within multimodality that I'm asking is, what is the difference between these two pictures? And in your answer, I want to hear what elements you're mentioning. So Valentina, go ahead.
In one picture is more bright and the other is more dark, and there's a contrast between the emotion of the family. One's happy, like having fun, and the other seems more concerned, maybe.
Yeah. So yes. So one element that is immediately visible, thank you, Valentina, is the lightning, obviously, which carries a different meaning or reinforces a different attitude or a different feeling or how you're supposed to feel or how you're supposed to understand the scene. Very good. And you also mentioned the contrast, and this will be a contrast between two different texts in this case, between two different images. Remember that we can call images texts because we can read images. So lighting is one element, and facial expressions another element. Now, how do we read these pictures? What is the impression that you get? Impressions are readings. What is the impression that you get from these two images here? Can anybody give it a try? Mercedes, go ahead.
Well, like my classmate mentioned, one of the families seems to be much more in touch with each other, like visually also. One of the families
Mm-hmm.
is way more close to each other than the other one. The other one, there's distance between them. And
Mm-hmm.
from the way they're staring at each other, like there is conflict.
Mm-hmm.
That too.
Yeah. So we have distance, we have conflict, we have like from these faces we can see joy, maybe. From these faces we can see concern, maybe. So the same elements, lighting, facial expressions, space, are used in different ways. So different words and have different meaning. So lightning, when it's bright, it means one thing. Lightning, when it's very dark, it means another thing. Expressions, when they are expressions of joy, then we understand them as them being happy or them enjoying the moment or them reacting positively to something. And when they are like this, and the distance between one member of the family and the rest, it has a different meaning, either concern or someone having done something wrong or something that is like something that is going to happen. We don't know, but we get different impressions. All right, and let's go then to our assignments. Like I mentioned, today is going to be a rather short class. This is going to be assignment 2. Um, I am assuming that you're going to have uh, at least until the end of next month for the assignment, but I am not sure because it's in the yearly plan it was usually one assignment per month. But for assignment 2, you have the benefit that you have to choose what you're going to do. There are 2 possibilities for what you can do. One is a regular essay based on things that we've just covered. And the other is the multimodal option, which is the reason why we've delved a little bit deeper into multimodality. And I also have an example of what a multimodal assignment turned in would look like. So let's talk about the 2 options. Option 1 is a multimodal assignment would be a day in the life in Omelas. A day in the life is a type of video that is usually very common, usually in Instagram or um, even X or Twitter sometimes. And that assignment would be to make a day in the lifestyle video as if you were living in Omelas, as if you were a person living in the city of Omelas. And you finish with your own choice. You finish the video in some way, whether narrating or showing. You finish with your own choice to stay or leave the discussions that we've had about the last text, about Omelas. So you would turn in a video, doesn't need to be more than 1 minute long, just a short video. It can be an edit of different videos that you may already have and some voiceover, and that already fulfills the requirements specified here. And along with that video, you would have to write a very short, basically explanation. So you write 250 words minimum, describing your experience of making the video, making sure to state how you used multimodality, why you chose the videos that you chose, why you chose to cut where you cut, why you chose to narrate in the way you narrated, or whatever choice that you made, just explaining why you made those choices for the meaning that you tried to create. Option number 2 is an essay, and the title of the essay is which is, well, the theme of the essay. You can play around with the title, but the main point of the essay is the question, which is fairer, liberalism or nationalism? And there's a 1,000 word minimum essay on which political system is fairer. There's a lot you can say, there's a lot you can give your opinion on, but it needs to be well argued. And it should reference reading that we had in class. It can be either MLA or APA for the referencing and for the format. Each of those is any of those is fine. So there you have it. Two options for the next assignment. You chose, they are both individual. A multimodal assignment in which you create a video, or a 1,000 word essay in which you answer the question, which is fairer, liberalism or nationalism. Now, let's look at an example of what a multimodal assignment turn-in would look like. I think I can. No, so let's go and why could I not make it full screen? Let me see.
Open last.
Yeah, let's go here. I want to make it full screen, but I don't know how, so
Openlas is a great place to live in. We have friends to celebrate, and music and parties to enjoy. We have great art, and we have friends to make art that we're proud of with. We have heritage that we're also proud of, and we have green spaces full of life and joy. How can we be so lucky here in Omelas? Now I know what makes this place so special. It is a child locked in a basement, like a picture we refuse to look at. But what are the alternatives? Every Omelan having an eternal duty? Maybe we can import one of those hardened criminals from the cities that have them. This is why I have to stay. Until I find the answer, I refuse to be happy on someone else's suffering. I refuse to look away from Omelas.
all right. So as you can see,
Omelas.
let's go back. All right, there we go. So as you can see, a short video. In this case, Ms. Garcia used a bunch of videos that she already had previously. She cut them together and she added a voiceover and a sound. I think one is a soundscape, which is basically just a recording of a group of people, the audio recording of a group of people, and one of them was a song. All of those choices were deliberate, and in her text, Ms. Garcia would explain why she chose each of the videos and how she chose to use them. All of this was done in her cell phone. She did this using the program CapCut. So if you want to try out your hand at some editing and some video making, then CapCut is a good alternative. It's a good entry alternative. So this is what an assignment. This is what this type of assignment would look like. I don't think I need to give you an example of an essay because you know what an essay is. And in this case, it would be one of these two choices. So, are there any questions about the assignment or about how to do it or about anything related to the assignments? I will confirm the deadline anyways with Ms. Garcia because I'm not 100% sure, but that is the only thing the only information that may be missing. If you have any questions, or if eventually any questions arise, please remember that Ms. Garcia does have office hours. Meaning that you can just let her know you have a question through a message or through her institutional email, and you book office hours. You set up a meeting, online meeting, and you just ask your questions or run your ideas through her or clarify any concepts that you had in class. You can use the office hours. You are highly encouraged to use the office hours. But yes, if there are no questions, concerns, or anything at the moment, yes, Pedro, go ahead.
Yeah, I had just one question regarding the video.
Mhm.
Are we supposed to use just content that we create, or can we use any other kind of content and we do a voiceover or a narration over the content? Is that acceptable too, or does
Yeah,
or
as
is
long
that
as
acceptable?
long as it falls under fair use and you're not claiming any another person's production as your own and you give proper credit, because this is an academic task, an academic for academic purposes, you're not doing this for money, then it falls under fair use as long as you credit the original sources and the original creators. So the not just let me show you. Not like this. So this only has the name of the series. In order for it to be proper, it would have to have the name of the producers, for example. That's the only difference if you use any video that you haven't created. Try not to use children, unless you get the assent of the child, at least, and the consent of their parents. Don't just grab your little brother and make him do things, and things like that. So you need two things. You need the consent of the guardians if you're going to film children, and you need the assent of the child, because a child cannot consent. A child can only say yes, it's okay, or no, it's not okay, but they cannot give consent. You're still required to ask the child if they want to participate, though. And you can ask, and you can add your experience with that to your 250 words part. But yes, those are the only requirements regarding the video. Credit properly and the consent of people that you're filming, not only children. The children, you have the extra particularity that you need their assent as well. Ian, yes, go ahead. Cannot hear you though because you're muted. There you go.
Okay, I was wondering if we could, like, I have the idea to make
Mm-hmm.
the point of view of the child.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah,
that
like a
is
POV,
possible.
for example.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
yeah.
great.
Okay, thank you.
You would still need to, because the assignment is finished with your own choice to stay or leave. You would need to get a little creative there, but that doesn't mean that you cannot do it. Like the child escaping, maybe, I don't know.
Okay, thank
And
you,
I will
teacher.
remember, that that was Ian's idea first. if in case I have the child escaping. I'm not gonna take away points though, but the original idea is going to be. Any other questions? Looking for my pen, but I don't know where I put it. Any other questions before we finish today's class? I mentioned that it was going to be a very short class today. All right. If there are no other questions, then you do have as a secondary option the office hours, in case you want to run your ideas, like we just had. So yeah, that is going to be it for today. I don't think I can stop the recording, but I can.